Welcome to Toffee TV. Lots of media outlets are reporting that Frank Lampard has indeed been sacked by Everton today. We're still awaiting official confirmation from Everton Football Club.
Be waiting until about half 10.
We might be
there's
waiting
nothing from Everton.
Well, there's nothing right now. But everybody else is gone with it. All the journalists, exclusive, Sky Sport have gone with it. That Frank Lampard has been relieved of his managerial duties at Everton Football Club. Less than a year. Only just less than a year, but less than a year.
355 days, is it?
He took over on the 31st of January last year, so what are we? We're on the 20-something. So like nine days or something.
Repeat.
8 days short of a year.
Yeah.
As Everton manager, and a year in which hasn't been brilliant overall at all. Everton have only won, I think, 12 games of the 40 odd he's been in charge of. And we've only won 3 in 20 this year, which is why he's been relieved of his duties. Steve, it's not really a surprise, is it?
No. I think we all thought it after the game on Saturday. I think it was only a matter of time, really, when it was going to be. Obviously, we've seen reports last night, Dominic King going with the story, and then obviously we've seen stories this morning as well. It's it's just like last January all over again, really, isn't it? What is it, 9 days left of the transfer window? The only good thing is, like we said before, we've got a director of football this time. But again, it just shows, I suppose, the failings of the football club, really, and the failings of the current squad on the pitch as well.
John, I mean, you just said it there, three wins in 20 Premier League games, out of both cup competitions by the first week in January. But we're here again. Another manager's come and gone. And
keep doing the same thing.
I was going to say,
again, and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, the football club's failed.
Yeah.
I mean, we've sat here on the sofa before. We've talked, you and me, about my philosophy around my job is to remove all the excuses, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And this football club watches managers fail. They watch them die day by day. You know, any football club worth its salt would have announced immediately after the game at the weekend that he'd gone. Why has the poor man had to go for a weekend, right, of knowing he's sacked but thinking, well, maybe I'm not, you know? Why are media quoting or appearing to quote Mashiri, right, when Mashiri said on Saturday night it wasn't his decision? So goddamn dysfunctional, it's not true. And, you know, whatever time it was, 18 minutes past 3, they told all the media. That's 20 minutes ago. They haven't told us yet.
The thing...
Can you just think... Oh, sorry, because I'm really annoyed, right?
Go on,
well,
have your rant.
Because we've just seen what this fan base has been like, what they've been doing with our opinions of the board. And in this moment, they thought, let's tell all the media first. Let's tell all the media first, right? It's extraordinary. And who knows what follows now.
Are we seeing why they don't generally say things? Because every time they've opened their mouth in the last 8 to 9, 10 days, they've made it worse.
I mean, we've said, again, if you don't say anything, you can't say the wrong thing. Yeah. Silence is golden, all that rubbish, right? But this is a digital, 24/7, always on world.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And, and journalists who don't give a damn about this football club knew before we did.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
And it's just not right.
There's no
reason why it can't come out minimally exactly the same time.
There'll be big changes at the football club. I honestly think there will be. And that'll include the PR team and everything, I imagine, as we move forward. Certainly how Everton get things out, because they're just behind in everything.
There's going to be a huge number of victims of this fallout.
I think for me, when you look at it now, obviously, like you've just said, we don't seem to help the manager in the best way possible. And I'm not saying we're sat here now and the manager is
he's not being good enough.
He's not being good enough, and he hasn't had the help that sometimes we require, obviously. But going forward, I mean, Steve, when you're looking at it now, this is an appointment that you would hope that while things have been struggling, Everton have been looking around to see who fits however their vision is, and hopefully it's the director of football, because otherwise what's the point? What's he there for? Hopefully Everton have been looking around and they've got a list that doesn't lurch from Sean Dyche to a Pep Guardiola type. I'm using them as like how you play football.
Like we just said about Moyes and Martinez.
Exactly that kind of thing. You'd hope that a lot of them are similar in their vision and similar in, so we can continue to, we can start to move forward, because that's the only way how you progress, isn't it?
It is, mate, it is. And I was just saying on the show we did before as well, if it's everybody's got to be in on this as well. It can't be just one person saying I want this, one person saying it's for this manager, the next whoever it is going to be. I haven't got a clue who it's going to be right now, to be honest with you. Everybody's got to be in on it, because what's the point? You can't have Farhad Moshiri and Bill Kenwright saying we've appointed him, and Kevin Felwell having no say at all, like Marcel Brands had to go through that, didn't he? And that's one of the reasons we are where we are today, is because of people not setting a plan out. There's been no plan from the football club. The plan for the last couple of years is hire him for 12 months, sack. Hire him, sack. It's just, it gets you nowhere. It gets you second from bottom in the Premier League.
Exactly, yeah.
That's where it gets you. Yeah. And I said this to you before, it's happened, I've seen it happen at football clubs before. Aston Villa, it happened at Aston Villa, kept changing managers, went down. Sunderland, kept changing managers, poor recruitment, went down. Watford. Newcastle, Watford, the list goes on and on and on. And you know what? It can only go on for so long before it catches up with you. And the club, I've got a new stadium coming around the corner, and they've got to be very, very careful it doesn't catch them at the wrong time. Because if it does, I've seen reports over the weekend about potential wage bills if they go relegated, not many relegation clauses and players' contracts, etc., etc. They've got to be very, very careful, and they need to make sure the decision they make is the right for the football club and the plan moving forward. Because if not, we'll be back here next January.
If we're just looking, just right now, when you're looking, and obviously you look at managers and they're going to give you this straight away, aren't they? You're going to get odds, because that's what that game's all about.
Of course, yeah.
I think there is some odds. Sean Dyche apparently at the moment is one of the favourites, although last night and this morning he's been, Everton aren't interested in him. But
those people are going to lose their money.
Exactly, he's in for there. We've seen links to Bielsa.
Unbelievable.
Which is a mad one to me, given Everton's squad. Well. We've seen Duncan Ferguson, Wayne Rooney's in the picture, David Moyes apparently is in the picture as well.
That'll be the same David Moyes who said that Frank shouldn't get sacked.
Yeah.
I'd say he shouldn't get sacked as well if he's one of my rivals. You're thinking, let's try and get a couple of teams down there. But the reality is, no matter what happens here, Everton have to make sure the homework's done. The character they're bringing in suits what's at the club. And you'd have to, like we said before on the live show that we did at half-1, you'd hope, and I imagine that it is, you're digging into people's coaching backgrounds. What is it like? What are they like as a coach? Can they come in and do this job? Because just like, say, a David Moyes, the way he does all that digging into a player's background, is he a good character? Is he going to cause me any issues?
That's 101 stuff.
But have we done that though, John? We say that's 101 stuff. We went from, I said it before, we went from David Moyes having Everton in the top 5 or 6 every year. We give the job when he went to a lad who's just been relegated, didn't care about an FA Cup win. He got relegated, and we give him the job when there was other qualified managers there. We then give Ronald Koeman the job, even though we know people making the decisions had reservations about him, and we're going, I don't know whether we should. You're saying 101 stuff. If you're giving me a job and then you think, hang on, before we sign his contract,
what we're describing here is we have to do the basics.
Yeah.
Just like a team has to do the basics.
Yeah.
This, if you like, off the field team have to do the basics. And if they haven't been doing the basics for the last 3 or 4 months in anticipation that this scenario, and again, we've done it on the sofa, you run the scenarios, you plan, what if? What if? What if this manager, because the manager could have chose to resign, right? Manager could have got offered a job somewhere else. We could be doing really well. And so you've got to have a plan ready,
But did they have a plan ready when Carlo Ancelotti went?
No, it didn't seem so.
Exactly.
Did it?
And we had this. I remember me and you sat somewhere having this discussion going, you would have thought that
it's basic.
you'd always just check, especially if he had the alleged clause in his contract. You'd always be running it.
It's basic stuff. You know, so what presumably we end up with Leighton Baines and Paul Tate.
For now.
Which I'm quite, you know, because I said Tate, so I think, hey, look at me, how clever am I? Like, i.e., they're the only ones who are there, right? Because presumably Frank's backroom team have gone with him as well.
I imagine so, yeah.
Well, would you stay? They're all his mates and he's brought them in.
No.
You're not going to stay, are you?
Morals say you should go.
Exactly. Patrick says, poor manager not given the players required. A decision should have been made in November. And if the capability to improve the squad quickly in January wasn't there, then they had to cut ties and get a manager in with that time to work with the squad.
Absolutely. And that's where you go to your coach, not a manager type of thing.
Degsy says, here we go again, the board trying to deflect. What's the point? Where will a new manager change it now? Is Dunk that man? I've no idea who the man is, I'll be honest. I've even stopped going, we could get him and we could get him. I don't know, because I honestly, everyone who mentions a name to me, I just think, been here before.
I think I think what John said before, spot on though. But half an hour since everybody got told about this, and the club's still yet to announce it. That's
you said to me this morning, when did it, and I went, no idea, mate, because I didn't expect them to announce it. This is what they do.
This is part of
whatever Everton's PR strategy is. This is how it always goes. But there's leaks. No, we're linked with a player. It's out there.
We announced
we're
managers
talking to a player. We're out there.
We announced managers have gone.
Hours after everyone else knows.
That's different to saying they're not going to. But yeah,
pathetic. Well, they will. But everyone knows.
Yeah, it's already too late.
At the end of the day, Everton should have gone. We've made the decision. Right, we're announcing it now. Have a press release ready to go to all the journalists, but at 3 o'clock we are announcing it. And at 3 o'clock, Everton do it. And the journalists will have the story at 3:01. That's the way it is. We're the number. Everton have forgot this somewhere.
Yeah.
The people who were there have forgot this somewhere, that it's our football club. They are in charge of things. They forgot it right the way down to asking footballers to do things. We don't know whether we can ask them. They're not happy. What do you mean you're not happy? You're getting paid 80 grand a week. You will go to that school. You will do this interview. You will stay here till 4 o'clock. It's embarrassing the way we are at times. It's almost like we're apologising for can we have an interview with him, or I don't know whether we can send people to that place, or we can't ask a footballer to do that. Take the power back. We pay you. Yeah, you're an employee. You'll do what you said.
But that
runs through, John. It runs right, not just the players. It's staff as well. It runs right the way through.
It runs through the whole place.
It's just nonsense.
There are multiple people, and they know who they are. They make promises, and they don't deliver upon them.
Yeah, of course.
They don't have the courtesy to say to you, actually, I did promise that, but I couldn't do it
because
next week or never or whatever. And they hide.
Yeah, they do.
Everyone watching this knows they hide. They go in their little bunker, right? And I have great sympathy for some of the people we know.
Oh, God, absolutely.
Because we know individually they are really good people.
They do the right thing, yeah.
But collectively, it's so broken.
It's a culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a culture.
Cultures are, small c, big C, all that sort of stuff. But it's easy to fix if you have the right people.
Yeah.
Okay? And culture, if you want to call it culture, because it's a good catch-all, isn't it? That can be changed overnight with one leader. One leader.
You're right.
The rest of it takes time, right? And there'll be many, many victims of this when it's all played out. And some of the people who get thrown out with the bathwater are going to be really good people who don't deserve it. And some of the cuties who do deserve to go will just be clever enough not to. Yeah. But it doesn't matter if you've got the leadership right.
Yeah.
And the leadership is about, it's not about 120-point plans and bullshit like that, right?
Internal reviews.
By all means, have a plan, but don't say that just because you're sticking it in some goddamn program notes, we have a plan, that anyone believes you. Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
I've never bragged about a plan. I've never said how many lines are in it. You know, you have to sit or stand in front of the staff and saying, this is how it's going to be. You know, and there's plenty of examples, whether it's in football, other sports, or real businesses, if you like, i.e. ones that are not so out of kilter with reality, just because of the nature of all the money that's washing around it, where big leaders stand up in front of big audiences and fundamentally say, if you don't like what we're going to do, there's the door.
Yeah.
Right? And if someone you really don't want to goes, you just suck it up and get on with it. Yeah. Because you've got to operate to some very basic rules. You're either with us or you're against us. You know, you're either prepared to change or you're not. Yeah. Whatever.
The crazy thing is that you look around the Premier League, John, and you look at some of the clubs who are doing the right things. You never hear them coming out bragging, do you? Even when they're doing the right things, because you know, we praise them, or people are praising them more often rather than them giving themselves a pat on the back. Like Brighton, Manchester City, other clubs like Brentford. Clubs who are doing really good things with their football club. That you never hear anything like, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. It just happens. It's just natural. It doesn't seem to happen.
Obviously, the manager's gone on the record. Speaks for itself, doesn't it? It's not been good enough.
No.
Like Patrick said before, we haven't helped him.
No.
He hasn't helped himself, and the mix together has produced what
this
we've
mess.
seen. What type of manager do you think Everton need to be looking at now?
I think if I'll be honest, it's got to be someone who fits with the. Again, this coming back to it. It's got to be someone who fits with the culture of the director of football. But then the thing is, the people, but John, the people above the director of football also need to be aligned with him, or what's the point in his job?
Yeah.
But also you've also got to have a manager who's going to question decisions as well. I don't know if Frank Lampard's been that manager who's been willing to question because of the results he's been getting, etc.
Well,
I've mentioned to Baz obviously last night. Obviously Dominic Tedesco. I looked at a few things Kevin Fowler's done before, i.e. the style of play he wants. The type of formation he wants Everton to play in. And like I've always said to you, John, Lampard was never Farewell's man. Was he?
Listen, it works all ways, okay? Players are going to have to come into the football club and know what the culture's about, the style of play, all those sorts of things. You're only going to pick players that you think fit that, and then they have to have their induction, don't they, which reaffirms it. The induction is done by the other players. That's not how we do things here. That's what happens in successful teams. You think you're the big I am. You're coming into this changing room. No, that's not how it works, right? But you can't put all your eggs in one basket. I'm not convinced by Thelwell, right? Because he's not had to do anything yet.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So to say that he's going to have, and I know you didn't say this, but to imply he's going to have total control over which manager comes in, the style of play, the this, the that, and the other, what happens if he's wrong? Now, the collegiate stuff that the chief exec talks about, apart from the fact it's a dodgy phrase, right? But teamwork is not a democracy. So yes, people can have opinions. Yep. I actually would like to think that they sat round a boardroom and Bill Kenwright saying, I want person A, and Farhad Mashiri saying, I want person B, and Denise is saying, I want person C, and someone else, probably the director of football, saying, let me just explain to you why A, B, and C are the wrong ones, right? Because what they shouldn't be doing right now is looking for a personality. Just like when they're looking for players, they should be, which is your question, I think, which is looking for a style of manager. Do you want my answer? A young, hungry manager who's done all the badges, obviously, and all that sort of rubbish, but is versed in 21st century footballing coaching, which is analytics driven, blah, de blah, de blah, right? And is a coach. Right? Yeah. Call him what you like, but the person has to be a coach and know that a fundamental part of their job is to make the squad or the individual components of the squad minimally better because of his insight, right? And right now, someone like Arteta's getting lauded because he's making players at Arsenal better. Crikey, the average age of their front three was like 20, wasn't it, yesterday, or something like that? Cost them 15 million quid or something, right? But he's had his hard times. He had to break the culture. That was big name players, Aubameyang and stuff like that. He played win-lose with his job, right?
No, he did,
And we've had a succession of managers, none of whom are prepared to play win-lose with the culture.
What I meant about the director of football, he's got to be involved in the decision, as well as the board members as well. It can't be like, let's be honest, John. We all know Carlo Ancelotti and Rafa Benitez probably had nothing to do with Marcel Brands being involved.
Sorry. The owner
I mean.
has caused much of the problems by going and getting names more than styles.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's what I mean.
But if you want to do it from if you like, an organisational perspective, the person accountable for deciding the sporting direction of the football club should be the director of football, right? Do we agree with that? Yeah. So why isn't he on the goddamn board then? So the board members who are there right now do not believe that the person accountable for direction is the director of football, because he would be on the board and a peer of theirs if he was. As soon as he's not on the board, being a he at the moment, the obvious question is, who does he report to then? Don't give me this shit about he reports to the board. You cannot report to a group, right? You report to an individual, right? Doesn't report to Graham Sharp, cannot possibly be reported to Grant Ingles. No. Therefore, right now, Thelwell reports to either Bill or to Denise. And if that's the case, that's a nightmare scenario. One person is invested in the past, and the other person is invested in themselves, right? So that's that's not meant to be really horrible about the chief exec.
No, it's just what it is.
Her position is under huge stress because she is the chief exec.
Yeah.
Therefore, like most human beings, she's unlikely to do things that compromise.
Yeah, of course.
If she wants to stay in the role, that is, right? And the same applies to Bill, and as we've seen in recent days, someone like Graham and stuff like that. Yeah. But ultimately, going back to your question or your observation, the director of football's job is to make a recommendation for the board to ratify. If they don't take his advice, then that's it, isn't it? So let's hear what other people have to say.
First and foremost, let's have a look at Frank Lampard's record. First, and it's on screen. This was his record in 21-22. It's 21 games. This is all competitions, even though it's got a point per game at the bottom. In all competitions last season, he had 21 games in charge. He won 8, drew 2 and lost 11.
Like 2/3 of that now.
And then this season in 22-23. Sorry, just go back one there. Sorry, his points per game was 1.24. This season in 22-23, he's had 23 games. He's won 4 games, drawn 6 and lost 30.
Horrific.
With a points per game average of 0.78, which is the reason why Everton are where they are. Don't score goals, don't get points in games, and it's just not. It's not difficult, is it? If you don't take things from each game and you don't score goals, you end up.
I think like John said about the coach before, it was a really good point. I look at again, go hark back to him. He's one of the greatest managers of all time, Pep Guardiola. He still every day is on that coaching pitch with City players, even though he's won Champions League, because he knows better than all his coaches what those players need.
We heard the other night him moaning about not the fact he won the game and all, but the hunger about doing the extra mile, putting the extra tackle in, getting round the referee, backing up the young kid who's put 4 tackles in. He's talking all about that.
It's cliched, it's marginal gains, and that's what it's all about.
Right, let's hear what the manager had to say about after Everton's defeat at West Ham, or the ex-manager, after Everton's defeat at West Ham on Saturday.
Disappointed in the result, particularly when we had major control of the game in between both boxes. To lose 2-0 is obviously disappointing, but we had a lot of possession. The game went a lot of the way we wanted it to go, particularly up to the 20th minute or so. The stadium was quiet. We had the ball, and it came down to probably an issue for us recently of if we're not going to be clinical enough, not dynamic enough, not tough enough in the final third, you always have a possibility, particularly with a good team like West Ham, with good individuals, of conceding, and it changes the feeling of the game.
Welcome back. I am delighted to say I've been joined in the studio by former Everton captain Alan Stubbs, who has not really made his feelings known about what's been going on at Everton. Al, welcome.
Cheers, thank you. Pleasure.
What a day, mate. I mean, you were coming in anyway.
Yeah.
But obviously, you've come in on a day when Frank Lampard has been relieved of his duties.
Yeah, listen, I'm a little bit in two minds here, because obviously I feel for Frank, because I think he's being dealt a hand that was very difficult in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, but then I've got to be honest that I think the last 6 weeks I don't necessarily think the teams put performances in that they say, oh, we're behind the manager. I thought Saturday was tepid.
Yeah.
You know, I thought we didn't, well, I don't think we could have been there for 2 weeks and not scored. You know,
even look like scored.
We don't look a threat.
No.
You know, I thought the players just went through the motions on Saturday.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as we've seen with Everton over the past 7 years, one person always takes the fall.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
And it's the manager. And you know, because I like Frank. I think he's a really nice guy. I think he got Everton.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was the first time in quite a few years that there was a relationship between the fans and the manager. But unfortunately, you know, it just hasn't worked out the way we all would have liked it.
No. I mean, if we just look at the season overall so far, I mean, we've won 3 games of football in 20. I mean, you've been in a dressing room, you've been in these fights, you've been in teams when we've been at the top, and obviously your time at Celtic and all that. But when you're losing, to me, it looked like on Saturday, like they kind of just expected to get beat because we're in that run now. Is that what happens when you're in that run now?
It does, but I think that's where you need your leaders.
Yeah.
And I think we look like a team that's accepted it.
Yeah.
I think we accept getting beat now. I don't see players rolling the sleeves up, doing something about it. You know, if someone lifted someone at Goodison and got a yellow card, they're the type of things that get the fans going. Yeah. You know, and the small things, and the one thing I think no matter what type of players you have at Everton, the players want to see, first and foremost, you play for the jersey. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I'm not sitting here and saying the players don't look like they're not trying. You know, because that's I don't know any player that's gone onto a pitch and had the mindset of not trying. Yeah. You know, but they've got to do so much more than what they're showing right now, because you know the managers took the. Well, he's the one that's going to carry all the responsibility for it. Yeah. But the players have got to stand up, because what I seen on Saturday is not a team that represented Everton Football Club. I think that was a team that knew the consequences on Saturday, and you know, first off, I was like watching the game and I was pulling my hair up because we were lifeless. Yeah. You know, we passed the ball for passing sake. We went sideways. You know, we've got no threat in behind. No. We've got everyone who wants to come towards the ball. You know, I've got to say, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has to do so much more than what he's doing right now. And I know he's had injuries, you know, but we're talking about he's been back 5 games now. And he doesn't look like, for me, he wants to have any contact with anybody. Yeah. You know, and it's not just him. But then you look at us, we don't look like we're going to score goals. Apart from a set piece, you know, which even then, we don't look at that. We've got big lads in the team. I know. You know, Anana, Tarkowski, Cody,
Mina at the weekend.
Dom. Yeah. You know, there's 5'6'4" lads. Yeah. It's honestly, God, it's sad to see. It really is.
Can I? Obviously, last season the manager coming, it was a terrible time. I was just saying before on something we were doing it. We'd won 1 in 14 last season, and in all the times when I've been watching Everton and we've struggled, we've never had a run like that. It's always like might be 4 defeats on a run, then we win one, and then it's and all that. Yeah. But then obviously we stayed up, and it's like, we'll let the manager get to grips with it now. The one thing that I disagreed with Frank about is that in saying, well, we were down there last season, so we knew we would be this season. That to me is the wrong mindset. And you've been a manager. Yeah. How do you?
Well, the flip side to that, and it's a really good point, is that obviously when I was at Everton, we at first the early part we were yo-yo. So we were down the bottom one season, finished a couple of places above it. Then the next season we were 7th. You know, so therefore I disagree with that mindset that he said, because basically he's given the players an opportunity to say, well, look, you know, I'm just saying it. You know, so, and the one thing you can't give players is a license to feel sorry for themselves, because they do take it. You know, and right now the worrying sign, and this was the worrying last season, was that we don't look like we've got a squad that can drag us out of it.
No.
And unfortunately, they're going to have to. They've got no choice. We need reinforcements. I think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
We know what's going on behind the scenes. I think we have to keep driving that forward.
Yeah.
Because, you know, for a lot of people, this is just the start. This is the first change of more what they want to see.
Yeah.
You know, this shouldn't be the last.
No.
This has to be the first. And I think the point's getting through. We are honestly, we are an amazing football club. We really are. And we're getting dragged through the gutter right now. You know, on and off the pitch.
Yeah.
And people, you know, what's happened to what's been done to the Everton fans over the last 3 weeks is nothing short of disgraceful. It really is.
Yeah, totally agree.
You know, and this has got to stop. There's got to be some clarity on where the club's going. There's got to be some clarity in terms of the financial fair play. Where exactly are we? How close are we sailing to the wind? You know, come on. You know, it's not difficult. Let's be honest. Because I think if there's an honesty, I think the fans will go, okay, fair enough. At least they've come out and told us exactly where we are. You know, but it's like cloak and dagger, and not everybody's on the same page, and everyone's they're having to go at me, and it's not like that. This is the football club we're talking about, not individuals. This is Everton's future. You know, unfortunately, for me, the people who have been making the decisions consistently over the last, not just 7 years, but more, have consistently got it wrong. So how do we move forward? It's impossible.
We see other clubs. I mean, you're absolutely right there. I said this on something we done the other week. There was an article in the Echo, so someone has given Joe Thomas, really good. You know, he's gone to war a little bit with Everton, with the Echo, haven't always done. Just proper journalism, but he was obviously given a story just before Christmas that said Everton are off the naughty step with FFP.
Okay.
Right, so a lot of people coming to us going, we'll have 40, 50 million. We were like, don't think it's quite like that. But what you're giving that message out to fans is, we're all right, we can do what we want. If they'd have just come out and gone, it's still tight this January, I think fans go, all right, we know it's not great. Of course we want money. Why are they? I mean, what benefit do they think of giving that story? It's only creating a pressure, isn't it?
It is. All it does is it creates a divide.
Yeah.
And it because obviously there's a lot of people out there who know exactly where Everton are from a financial point of view. They see the records and everything. You know, it's there. It's in the public domain.
Yeah.
You know, Everton's last 3 years, they're somewhere in the region of £380 million in debt. You know, or £380 million losses.
Yeah.
You know, so therefore that tells you everything you need to know in terms of, you know, Everton.
Our run.
Yeah. Well,
it is effectively, isn't
ultimately, you know, the crazy, abject spending from the first day has come to fruition now in terms of where it's hurting Everton. You know, and if that's the case, after even year 3, anyone who's worth the call should have been saying, we need to hold on here. This is them the last 3 years are going to bite us
at some
stage, on the backside at some point. And that's why these are the type of things we'll talk about, the running of the club. You know, where someone knows that, and this day where we are now was known 3 years ago, 4 years ago. You know, it hasn't just come. It hasn't just come in the last 6 months and gone,
no.
Right, you've got a problem.
Yeah, you're in trouble, yeah. It is crazy because I know, listen, it's great having billions of pounds and wanting to spend it, but the rules don't allow you to. You're right, someone's got to be the adult and go, we can't do this, right? So we have to make fundamental changes. And you look at clubs like, obviously, Brighton are in vogue at the moment. They're playing brilliantly. They run really well. Brentford have been doing this for 10 years. You'll have known anyway with what was going on that amount of time ago. You see in these football clubs who don't have Everton's resources producing good competitive football teams. So how do we get to that? Because obviously, like we just said, huge losses. The club still have, they've got rid of ATMs, so you can't do them no more. I think we're going to get the figures by the end of March or something, and I imagine the losses are smaller because Everton haven't really spent a lot of late compared to what they did do, but those losses will still be there. How do we begin that turn to do things a different way?
Well, I think the two clubs that you mentioned, I think, are great examples of how a business model can work.
Yeah.
We haven't got a business model.
No, it doesn't seem like, no.
So we haven't. It's been proved.
Yeah.
Because we've gone from manager to manager to manager, and what happens then is that you have an overspill of the players that first manager had. Yeah. He's still there. Well, obviously a lot of them have gone now, but then it has a snowball effect. The seconds, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh. Yeah. Frank Lampard's come in as being the last one. How many players that he inherited did he actually really want? Yeah. And I would have said probably more than half. We've had players sitting there happy to take 80, 100 grand a week, not wanting to move. No. Saying Toffee being one of them. He
was the biggest one, yeah.
And I think that just creates a culture within the club, even though supposedly he might have been a nice guy, but I couldn't care less whether he's a nice guy or not. We can't afford to pay someone 100 grand a week to absolutely give nothing to the football club. So it is, for me, it's staring us right in the eyes. We've had an owner who's come in, who's obviously a very rich man, and supposedly, people who he knows are even richer. So therefore, when you have that wealth, I think comes with that as I can do what I want. Yeah. And there's no doubt that he's undermined people on the board right now. There's no doubt about that. I want that player. Well, it's not necessarily right. Well, I don't care. I want that player. So who's telling him? Because he's not a football man. No. So where's his information coming from for suddenly to him have a mindset of I want that player? Is it agents? Is it other people? And then I flip it around and go, well, if people on the board are getting undermined, and they know they are, then why are you there?
Why are you still there? Yeah.
Because no matter what you say, it doesn't make any difference, because the man at the top is going to say, no, I don't care, we're doing that.
We're doing it anyway.
So ultimately, even though he's put his money where his mouth is, and I take my hat off to him for that, he's ultimately the one that's responsible for the position that we find ourselves in right now.
Absolutely, yeah. If you've been a manager as well, and if you were going in, like, you're going into this Everton job now as the manager, wouldn't wish it on you, by the way, right now, but you're going in there, and like you said, it is almost a Frankenstein squad of 7 different managers, because obviously Seamus is still there. He was there with David Moyes, Martinez, you're going through, and there's different players. When you go in as that, you've got a way of playing. How would you deal with this now if they phoned you up and said, Al, you've been really complimentary lately to us, the board, and we want to give you the job? How do you go about it as a manager when you walk in? Because we haven't even had managers like Alan likes to play passing football, and he's been a man like he's gone. I like to play direct football. I get the job, so your plays don't work for me. How do you approach that as a manager?
Well, I think Frank come in and he had a style where he wanted to try and play from the back. And we've seen that before with Roberto. And I think he was lucky because he had the overlap of the David Moyes team before, and then he introduced a little bit more of a football side. So we got the balance right, but then obviously when he put his own make on the team, it went wrong. It was disaster.
It was.
It was torture watching them, side to side, going nowhere, and so. And
our fans don't like that. No, you played in front of them.
And that's what I get to, is that I think since the new owners come in, and it happened before that, but we've lost our DNA. Yeah. We've lost our style in terms of what we were. People, when I used to always speak to other players, they used to hate coming to Goodison.
Yeah.
They hated it.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the most difficult grounds in the country because of the way we played and the fans.
Yeah.
And it's intimidating.
Well, you play for Bolton and you scored the FA Cup against us, didn't you?
And it's,
what was that like?
But it was great. It obviously, when I say it was great, I had mixed emotions.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
so on one side, my family wanted me to win and lose.
And lose, yeah.
And then obviously to score, it was a bit surreal.
Yeah.
But it's Goodison is special.
Yeah.
It is special. I've got to say, the new stadium looks wow.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. But our bigger problems are staring us right in front of us right now. I really think the only way that we can possibly get out of it is if we just become ugly.
Do you?
I really do.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, we can't play any other way.
No, we've tried the other ways.
Yeah.
I really think Anthony Gordon, looks a shadow of what he was. And that can be confidence. Dominic Calvert-Lewin needs to do more.
Yeah.
And this is not me calling them out or saying this is fact from what I'm witnessing.
You're a fella who played at the top level. You can tell and know what you're up against.
For me, Anana looks like he could be a good player, but he needs to look forward more.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that against Southampton. I don't know whether you see it. Southampton.
I was there,
Tremendous, driving forward. And then on Saturday, he just walked around side to side.
I think there's an element of him that he maybe thinks he's better than what he is right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas he could
be
very good.
He's
got brilliant attributes.
Yeah.
Big galloping long legs. Yeah. He's obviously comfortable on the ball. If he scores more goals, it adds to him as well.
Of course,
but I just think he plays within himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas if I was a man, I'm going, come on, you've got to give me more.
Yeah.
You've got to give me more. Come on, that's too easy.
Yeah.
Gay, he's not really come back. This looks like the same type of player that he was. I think we've got two very similar players sitting there who want to get off the back foot but want to go sideways. Rather than how many times have we had a midfielder get into the box, Tim Cahill, that type of players.
That type of player.
We've got no one. And I think the distances between our midfield and the striker too big. If we want to go direct, or get people around them. Yeah. No point having two wingers stuck out wide when you're playing the ball direct.
This was my thing with it. They played the 4-3-3, flanks 4-3-3, and yet the midfield there's gaps. So we're not even. There's just too many gaps, and whoever the striker is, I mean, to be honest, Everton have done this regularly even when we had Lukaku, but no one's near him. Yeah. So you're knocking it up to Dom, and he's so good in the air that if he wins, he's got to run after it himself, or it runs through him. It's like, if we're going to do that, Sam, we'll put someone alongside him and say, run off him. Yeah. He's going to win it, just gamble, and you'll be in.
I would have put the Corey off from me.
Well,
I would have played him a bit more
power,
advanced and gone a bit bigger, just to try something different, but for some reason, he obviously looks like he's not having him.
No.
He's not having them, and supposedly
today he's definitely not having them. Yeah.
But you know what? In a way, that I'm looking at that thinking, well, good.
At least something's happened. At least someone's shown something.
If someone said something, then it's about time. Maybe a bit late, but it's about time. Yeah. And these little things can be the catalyst of the reactions that you need. I don't know how many times we had situations, confrontations in the dressing room with players.
Did you?
But you know what? After it's finished, be in the bar and have a pint with them. It's forgotten.
Get a reaction.
It's not personal.
No.
Your job as a player is for 90 plus minutes is to do whatever you need to do to get a result.
Yeah.
After that, if someone comes in and says, you this, you're that, right, don't take it personal. Because more often than not, you might be right.
Yeah.
You might have had a crap game, but I always say if you've not played well, you've not got an opinion because you haven't done your own job first.
Yeah.
If you've played well and someone is, then at least you've got something to say. But I would, for me, if I hadn't played to the standards that I want, and if someone had a pop at me, I'd more often than not, I would have took it.
Would you?
Wouldn't have been happy.
No, of course.
But for that in that time.
Yeah, you just.
But then you know what? Fair enough. That's the way it should be. No one's saying things about someone just because they want to.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have these discussions. You have to sometimes see negative things, you know, that as players, because otherwise, you know, you'd be the top of the league. Everyone's playing well.
Of course, we're all winning. Yeah,
you know, but sometimes some home truths do not do any harm whatsoever.
No. See, I don't see when we can see the goal. We don't even look that arsed, and it's like I know footballers have changed, and for whatever reason, but there's no hate. It doesn't look like it. Like obviously, you know.
It's difficult when you're a former player because people look at it going, well, he's just saying that, you know. Or when I was a player and stuff like that. I get it, but society's changed.
Yeah, no, it has.
It's different now, you know. I think when I did play, we could have an argument with each other.
Yeah.
You know, we could have
without
a confrontation.
Someone going to hate you.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. Whereas now, I do think players are more touchy about things. They would, I think, take it a little bit more personal, as if like when it's completely not. You know, at the end of the day,
job, aren't you?
You've got to do what you need to do in the best interests of the club.
Yeah.
Not for the player.
Yeah.
You know, they get paid really well. And that's not their fault. Someone offers you the contract of X amount, what are you going to do? You're going to sign it. You know. So it's not their fault, it's the way the game's gone. But what we would like to see, I think, is a bit more of that playing for the jersey.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know.
Some of the names that have been mentioned to replace Frank, I mean, seen Marcello, Bielsa, like one. I mean, that to me, again, just says we haven't got a clue. If it's real, by the way, because obviously names will be thrown. That to me would say we haven't got a clue. For the simple reason that I personally don't think he's amazing anyway.
Yeah.
But B, and this is the bigger one, our players can't run. He has them running like lunatics. Yeah. Our players don't run around normally.
I think if he was to come in, I think he'd need the pre-season.
That's what I've just said this before. If you're bringing him in May, when it's finished, and you go, right, and he says to the players, like, this is what we're doing for 6 weeks, and by the end of that 6 weeks, we'll have an idea. To do it now, that's a big...
Because I even on the way in, and I was listening to Talk Sport, and I heard someone say, well, you know, where's Everton in an attractive job? And I'm listening thinking, are you for real?
Do you think it is?
For the manager out there right now.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Imagine if you could turn this around.
Oh God, yeah. Well, we know what it can be like. You know, I mean, look what Frank had last season, and let's be honest, we weren't great, were we? We just scrambled wins.
Listen,
but
the reason why we stayed up last season was one reason: the fans.
The fans, yeah. It's the only reason.
It was pure and simple, and it was that. But at least, you know, listen, we've won 3 games all season, right? So we've got to win more than that. In fact, we've got to win at least double of that.
Double it, yeah.
To have a chance. So it doesn't, as we speak right now, look favourable.
No.
You know, but if you're one of the managers that's out there and you see what this could be in terms of turning it around, this is
attractive.
So attractive.
Yeah.
You know.
Would you fancy it?
Listen, there's not a chance of me getting a Bill Kennedy there.
Of course, yeah.
No, but that's by the by. You know, I think it's a great job. You know, it's a brilliant club. The most important thing right now is, and the problem I have, and I think every Evertonian has, is that we've got the same people making the same decisions in bringing the manager in, who have consistently made bad decisions. So, am I confident that they can make one? Well, the law of averages says you got to get one.
You got to get one.
You know, so from that point of view, that we might. But
what type of manager would you go for when you're looking at that?
I think first and foremost right now, I think we need to be hard to beat.
Yeah,
I think we're too soft. I really do. I think we're too easy to play against. I don't think we've got an identity.
No, not at all. No.
You know, because I look at the team and I go, well, what are we? Are we physical? No.
Yeah.
Are we fit us where we can close teams down under pressure? No. Are we a good counter-attacking team? We've got a bit of pace, but we're not.
No.
We don't know the times to go.
No.
You know, or are we a team that can play off in the back and hurt teams and play through the thirds? No. So, you know, there's 4 different styles,
is there anything
and we're not.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's why I'd like someone to come in and straight away you turn around and go, all right, I can see what he's doing. This is what we are, you know, and ultimately we've got to look at the bigger picture. You know, I think this manager potentially may be one that has got an eye on this season and possibly next season, wherever that's going to be.
Yeah. And I think we have to buy, I think we almost as fans, we're going to have to buy into that. Not, we've got this fella for a few months and then we're going to change him again in the summer. I think we do have to just go, let's see where this goes then. But that is so important, who you're choosing then, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Like you, I'm hoping that they just, by law of averages, they get one of them right. But
well, I do myself. But right now, I think we need someone and all who's good with no money.
Let me ask you this then, because this isn't, without giving, you know, names and stuff, there's obviously a lot, like obviously, well, I am going to name some, but I don't expect you to. But like Wayne Rooney's been mentioned, obviously you played with Wayne, you know Wayne very well. Yeah. Difficult job at Derby, no money. They would have, without the points deduction, the mid-table, loads of debut for that. Yeah. So he's done it with no money, but I understand the experience. He's a big risk, of course, but he's also someone you could go, well, we are going to plan for next season as well. Yeah. There's other managers out there like Sean Dyche who was no money at Burnley and had them a specific way. Yeah. Don't know about that one. Some people really love that idea and others are like, no chance. And then there's a lot in between. But I'm like you, there's like, you know, if you want to be exotic, you can have Dominic Tedesco, who's at Leipzig and he's done managed in Germany and he's out of work, so you haven't got to buy him out of a contract. And he's 37, so he's young and hungry. And that might be more of that kind of age might be more of what we should go down. But I honestly couldn't sit here and go, you know, if we get him, we'll be sound. Because I think Pep would come in and go, got a headache here with these, you know.
I agree, because it is very, very difficult. And I think that's why I think it's such a difficult choice for this one as well. Yeah. You know, I think with Wayne, well, he's already said no once because of the situation. Well, this situation's worse than when he said no. You know, I know there's going to be...
Would you be worried, if he said yeah and he wanted it, would you be worried that with the experience thing, because we're seeing Mikel Arteta, who you obviously played with, absolutely, I know he's had a lot of money to spend, but he hadn't had any experience other than being with Pep.
Well, I think Wayne's backroom staff would be very important.
It would be, wouldn't it?
You know,
massively
in terms of
important.
that, from an experience point of view.
Absolutely.
So I think he would need someone that is experienced with him. I think in terms of the challenge, I don't think Wayne's ever feared the challenge. No. So I don't think that would intimidate him. Duncan, the one thing I think with Dunk is that he's already been overlooked for the job. He came in caretaker, and they didn't give him the job. No. Where it could have been just as easy to have given him. So they didn't want to give him it. It's obvious. There's no point.
I thought last season he could have potentially given it till the summer and gone see how you'd put up.
You know, so and therefore, I think if he was ever going to get it, that would have been the time to get it. They may look at something like that now to try and take pressure off them.
Possibly,
It's difficult. It is very difficult. We find ourselves in a really precarious position.
But should we be looking? All right, sorry, for this one then. Should we be looking for someone who just goes, he might keep us up this season? Forget about next year. He might keep us up.
I think you've got.
Or do we look at the long
short term?
Short term, do you think?
Because obviously
Allardyce.
No. Listen, he done a job.
He did.
He done a job. You know, obviously the fans didn't take to him whatsoever. No. You know, but Sam does what he says on the tin.
Yeah, he does.
You know,
he does.
And his record is good that way. But I really don't think we're going down that avenue.
No, doesn't seem to be anyway.
But I do think we have to while we've still got an opportunity, we have to try and do something with this. You know, it would be miraculous if we get out of this. I've got to be honest, it really would. You know, you look at the stats. You know, we've only won 3 games all season. Potentially, we're going to have to win 7.
Yeah, out of 18.
You know,
and the next 2 are tough, aren't they?
And
Arsenal, Liverpool.
Your first 2 coming in as a manager doesn't get any tougher.
No.
You know, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away. You know,
and it almost means you've got to win every other game.
Well, then there you go. Yeah, so it's another 2 games less. So listen, it's, you know, you can't. I can sit here, and we all are. We're all hating, but you can't feel sorry for yourself. You know, you've got to look to be seen to try.
Yeah. Because
there's no way that we can go down. We can go down with a whimper.
No. And we are at the moment.
And we are right now. You know, we are. The players have really got to look at themselves.
Yeah.
Because this is not just Frank Lampard's fault.
No, absolutely not.
You know,
absolutely not.
He's took the can. The players have got to take responsibility. I know Seamus, obviously, from my time there, and he will certainly stand up and speak. He's a great lad.
Yeah.
Seamus's best years, you know, are behind him. There's no doubt about that. It happens for the time.
That,
catches up on everybody.
Yeah.
You know, but the one thing he will have, he's a very proud lad, and he will say things.
Yeah.
But if I'm being honest, I think this dressing room needs a good shake.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the club does.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a situation now, we'll just get onto this briefly. We're in a situation, you're absolutely right. We've come to a situation where another manager's gone.
Yeah.
For whatever, you know. The club hasn't helped. The club's failed him as well, because either help him or give him the tools to at least be a little bit better at it. We haven't done that.
Yeah.
But obviously, you're right. We've had an owner who has played footy manager with it. He's just gone. Yeah, we saw it with El Ghazi last transfer window in January.
Yeah.
No one wanted him. Rafa Benitez didn't want him. Frank Lampard gave him about 8 minutes for the rest of the season. Wasted the loan. We've had a chairman in who, for me, should really just be putting his feet up now at that age. You know what I mean? Why are you still bringing that on yourself? CEO, we've done lots on here saying, why hasn't the board been made bigger and try to see if they are actually better with other voices? They haven't. They've kept it short, so therefore they're going to come into a company that loses money. They're going to be under the spotlight. But we do have to get change now, because I think what's happened in the last 2 weeks, they crossed the line that I don't think they can get back. I don't think they can jump back the other side now. No. Statements have made it worse. They've poured petrol on the fire. Yeah. And I think it seems to be anyway, and for a lot of fans we speak to, it has gone too far now for it ever to go back to normal, and that's how it seems anyway.
I totally agree. You know, you've got you had the player representation. You know, I forget what the name of it was. The fans where they were on the board and they were
the fan advisory board people. Yeah. Got them.
You know, some of them have resigned.
Yeah. Fans forum resigned.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
They're not getting listened to. You know, and the reason why there's only a few people on the board is because they all bow to one man.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's small. You know, so who's gonna pull up the owner to say you're wrong?
Yeah. A fella that's probably not used to getting.
And realistically, that's what a board should be. You should have people where you'd have discussions, and whether you like it or not, it should be opinions.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Opinions to drive the club forward. Not like yes, men, women, whatever it is, just to nod their head because the owner said, you know, you're there for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, and it's to give an opinion, and if you don't think it's right, you have to stand up and say.
Yeah.
You know, and if the owner doesn't like it, tough. You know, because the football club is bigger than the owner. You know, we'll still be here. You know, a lot longer than what he will. He's come into town. He's rolled in, splashed his cash, and he's failed.
Yeah, he has.
You know, sorry, but it's been a failure. You know, so I've said it the other day and all. I said, well, listen, he won't be the first and he won't be the last. Thanks very much for trying.
Yeah.
Give someone else an opportunity now.
That's it, isn't it?
You know, so
it is a mess, isn't it?
It is a mess.
It's a situation where when the owner come in, you'd say we're going to spend 600 million quid. You'd have expected Everton to won a trophy and maybe being in the Champions League the odd time in that period, but certainly be stable and certainly have a squad where you go. It's like, you know, kid, I seen it the other day and it was like, you know, my lad, you know, Onana on his shirt for whatever reason, but he's like the only one. Who else did he want on the kids? There's no one even in our squad where you go, I'd love him. Where we used to have James and we had the Richarlison, and even that's been chopped away at. We shouldn't have to spend this amount of money, not have a squad that's got attacking, exciting players. I've said it today on something. It's almost like Everton have forgotten the point of what football is. It's like keep it out of one net and put it in the other. We're great between, well, not great, but, you know, we just pass the ball around a bit between the two boxes, but we don't affect either box.
No, we don't.
And that to me has come, it drips down. No, it's not the same, but it's all dripped down from the top for me. And the owner, you're right, I think he does need to move aside, get people in who want to, even if you can't get there, want to go, I want to make these the best in the country. And
I think if I was the owner right now, and with all the animosity and the anger that's pointed towards the people at the top, if he wants to keep control of the club, right, which, let's be honest, he's got a stadium that's potentially going to be 750 million. He spent over 500 million. So there's, you know, you're getting towards a 1.2 billion pound investment. You know, so if he's not going to walk away, step aside and put people in place that are going to take the club forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Revamp it, refresh it. Let's have ideas. Let's have a plan. Okay, if you want to stay out the way, you stay out the way. Stay out the way for 10 years if you want to. But put people in there who are going to really drive the club forward.
Different voices.
You know, not yes people. Work with the fans. Don't work against them. You know, because that's what's been happening.
They're the biggest, but like it or not, we are customers of the football club, and then it's like a business going against its customers. It's just it just seems mad, doesn't it? And,
it does, it does.
You know, I don't know. It is a situation. I don't think I've certainly never felt like this about the club, where it's just like it's almost like them and us, which is berserk. I don't think you can ever get into that, can you?
But I think there's only one person that's drove that. Or there's a group of people that's drove that, and it's the people on the board. The fans have not drove it. No,
you know, we want to support.
We want to support. We want the best interest of the club, and they'll turn around and say, "We want the best for the club and all." Okay, well if that's the case, right? You're not the people to take the club forward now, so let someone else have a go. You know, but that has to come from the owner. You know, we could go around the circles,
of course,
which, you know, but it's
worrying now, isn't it?
It's tough. This is the most scariest time I've ever witnessed as an Everton supporter.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, even when I was playing and we had a couple of seasons where we were towards the bottom, I never felt as worried as this. You know, we are in a desperate situation.
Let me ask you this before we finish, just because you've been in that dressing room as a player at that. And I know it was a different time. You're never Tony, so you would have felt it more anyway, your mates and your family and all that. But as a player, do you think, is there a point where it is a case of, look, we are really in trouble here, lads, and we're all responsible or whatever. Do you see that happening? Because right now, I feel like, as a fan watching it, people are just, it's not sleepwalking, but it's almost like there's another game next week, it's all right, this. And this seemed to happen last season in some games. It was just like, well, we've got another one next week, so put this to bed. And that's what I feel like watching it. As a player, like, what would you be saying to these right now in that dressing room?
Well, I think at the time we had a manager that would tell us in no uncertain terms if we didn't perform or we weren't on it. You know, we'd have days where he'd have us in on a Sunday, you know, if we'd have a poor performance or result on the Saturday.
Was this Moishi?
But I must admit, and I think the gaffer would say this and all, is that we as a group of players, more often than not, with his voice.
Yeah.
Because we'd say it before he'd even spoke at half time. So we'd come in at half time or at the end of the game, and we'd be having it out with each other.
Would you?
Yeah. You know, and the gaffer would always go into this little side room first before he came in and spoke to us, and he'd be able to hear what we were all saying. And there was a number of times where he'd come in and we carried on our discussion.
Inquiry.
If you call it. And he'd just stand there and listen.
Okay.
And the only time he'd really step in is if it started to get a bit heated.
Yeah.
And he'd go, right, okay, you know, then he would take authority then.
Yeah.
And then when he'd go, right, I'm speaking now. So then there'd be the quiet.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not to say, you know, Frank Lampard or whatever the previous managers haven't done that. But I think there's an element of the players being too nice. Yeah. One thing I'd say was that, like, if I was in front of the players now, and I'd be speaking to them, I'd go, tell me why you're an Everton player. Tell me what your value is to the team. Because what you might see and what everyone else is seeing might be two completely different things. Because you might think you're doing okay, right? But what's okay? Everton needs better than okay. You know, Everton needs, you know, players who are going to be 7s and 8s every week.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not 5s, not scraping a 6. You know, so tell me, so, you know, what are you good at? What's your attributes?
6 would be great, Al, at the moment.
It would be. You know, and I, you know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, would I have liked to have played against him? I would have loved to have played against him.
Would you?
Because right now, he doesn't want any contact.
No.
Would I liked him coming across me winning headers? No, because he's brilliant in the air.
Yeah.
Right? Would I have liked to have him to receive the ball? Yeah, because I think he needs to improve with his back to play in terms of his hold-up play. Because right now, Dominic Calvert-Lewin wants to go that way, away from the goal, rather than running towards the goal. You know, but then I would say to the midfield players, how many times are you sliding balls down the side of centre-backs for Dom to run onto? You know, how many Anthony Gordon, how many crosses do you get in the game? You know, Damari Gray, how many crosses do you put in for Dom today? And I was, you know, so therefore, these are just questions to use to your strengths. Yeah. You know, Everton with Dominic Calvert-Lewin should be putting in at least 10 to 15 crosses a game.
What I say all the time.
You know,
that's his biggest attribute.
Yeah, of course.
We don't use it.
So what's the point of his biggest attribute by far is he's very, very good in the air. Yeah. He's got a fantastic spring.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and it's like, I remember like Peter Beagrie when he was at Everton. You know, talented, and I like Beagrie, he's a great lad. But I remember Sharpie saying, you know, the amount of times where he'd come to put a cross in and he'd check, and he'd go to put a cross and he'd check, and your striker's making them runs, he's going, and it gets to the point where you go, well, he just put the ball in. Yeah. You know, and it's like at Everton, don't let him down. Don't let your striker down.
Well, we had a situation last week in the Southampton game that led to their winning goal. Corner comes in, gets headed out. Anthony Gordon, for once, plays the right ball. Yeah. It's great. And everyone's in the box, and he takes a touch, he's thinking, just put it in. And then he stands the defender up, loses the ball, claims for foul, they break, and it ends up in our net. And you're like, if you'd have just put that in early for Dom to run onto, we might have scored the goal.
The only thing I'd say to that, and it's totally right, but if I was a defender, like, my game's here, not up there. Yeah. So therefore, are we right here? Are we defensively
right? Yeah.
You know, and we're not. You look at the last couple of goals, the gaps are massive, you know, in terms of that. Because what happens, and it's common, is that as a defender, you'd end up watching the game up there rather than watching the game with what you should be doing. Because if you do this bit right, it's not getting there. Yeah. And I think there's been an element of that.
Wolves was like that we lost the Wolves goal. We didn't engage, and we end up running back at our goals.
So that would be the type of conversations. I wouldn't have a problem saying it to him. You know, if I had to go into the dressing room right now and speak to them, even though I've been a little bit critical of some of them, I would not lose any sleep over it whatsoever, because I'm doing it because of my love for Everton Football
You want
Club.
them to be better.
I want them to be
don't
better.
you? Yeah.
It's not like a criticism because I don't like you. Like you haven't been playing well. Haven't done this, haven't done that. It's like, well, listen, you know, you're a winger. What's your job as a winger? Beat players, put the ball in the box.
Yeah.
Dribble, assists. You know what? So if you're not doing that, why?
Yeah.
Ask yourself why. You know, are the coaches? Are you then showing them all this information, which I'm sure they are, because of the amount of information you have now.
Yeah.
You know, then are you working on it in the training ground? You know, played against one of the best crosses I've ever played against in my life, David Beckham. You don't have to beat a man sometimes.
No.
You know,
Little
just get a yard and whip
yard,
it in.
Yeah, that was it.
You know, but listen, we could be here all
Yeah,
day. We could be here all day. You know,
we could. So we'll see anyway. We'll see what happens with Everton. I think the biggest thing is they make a decision.
Yeah.
An informed decision, but relatively quickly, because last season we appointed the manager on deadline day.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I've got 4 hours for the window shuts. What do we do now? So I think Everton after, with all the data or whatever it is, make this decision.
They have to, because you've got to give the guy that's coming in enough time to try and work with his team before they get to Arsenal.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to give him at least a week, 10 days
to try and get on it.
To try and get this team into some sort of shape, to try and get the ball rolling, get the confidence going in terms of trying to put in a performance that might get us something out of the Arsenal game. It's a long shot.
It is the fly.
You know, but
what's that, Goodison?
Well, yes, it is, and we know that Arsenal, you know, necessarily don't like coming to Goodison.
No, I reckon it's quite good.
We've had good results against them.
Yeah.
So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Oh, everything crossed. Right, Al, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Big thanks to Alan Stubbs for coming in and giving his thoughts there. Let us know what you think in the comments section below. What are Everton doing? What should Everton do now with the manager in terms of who is, you know, the next appointment? Give me the reason why you think it should be Neil Warnock, let's say. There you go. Thanks for watching. See you later.